Hi everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel. I know it's been a little while, but I am now back. I will be going back to uploads every other day though for the new year, because the daily ones just get a bit on top of me and then it gets a bit overwhelming. So I am going to be going to every other day, but for this one I'm having to remove these nails. As you can see, these ones on here have been on for quite a while, and then these ones have only been on, I think they've been on less than a week, to be honest. But I'm going to be removing both hands and doing a complete new set, but this video is literally just going to be removal. So I'm going to show you how to do a removal with an e-file and how to do one without as well. This is well, they're both acrylic design sets really, because that's encapsulated as well, because that's a pre-mixed glitter under there. As you can see, this hand are pretty battered. It's just from where I've been accidentally filing my own nails and stuff. They did start out as coffin, and this is what we are left with. They're very grown out, and then this hand is nice and fresh because it's just been done. So with the e-file removal, I use this bit here. This is called the Purple Willow bit. It is absolutely amazing. It's from Willow Academy, obviously. I'm also going to be using my Willow Prime e-file. This bit is absolutely brilliant at taking off bulk to do redesigns and also removing bulk to do removals. So I'm going to do two nails. I'm just turning this up. So I'm going to do two nails, well, three nails with this. So we're going to do thumb, index finger, and what's this called? Middle. And middle with this, and then I'm going to do the other two with my hand file to show you how to remove nails without an e-file, because obviously not everyone uses an e-file, because not everyone likes to, or not everyone is confident in it, or just hasn't got round to the training yet, blah blah blah. So for any reason, if you don't use an e-file, then this will show you how to do it with hand files. So there is also two different ways. So first of all, what I'm doing with my e-file is just removing as much of the bulk as I can. So as you can see, there is no glitter left on my nail. That is literally just clear acrylic, because when you do an acrylic design, it's almost like a sandwich effect. You'll do your clear and then you design in the middle with acrylic, colours and powders, or like pre-mixed glitters like mine are. Let me just zoom in. Or you'll obviously just use a core powder, but either way, like, I like to file it really nice and thin, and then there is less to soak off, because the soaking takes way longer than it takes to e-file. As you can see, this bit just really glides through the nail. You take the length off as well, because then you're not going to be soaking off nail that's not actually yours anyway, because it's just a complete waste of time to soak off acrylic that basically doesn't need to be there, sort of thing. So always take down the length first. So I'm just getting off the bulk. This is a core powder itself, so it doesn't have clear underneath, so you do need to be careful with things like that, like core powders, because you don't want to take off too much and then hit the natural nail. Just going to turn my thumb over to see how long it is, so I can take down the excess length. You want to always check underneath before you do that to make sure that you're not getting the skin underneath, because that will really hurt if you catch it, and it will bleed a lot as well, which obviously we don't want. I'm just trying to focus. I'm having to tap it with my nose. But yeah, as you can see, this bit is absolutely brilliant. It really does take it down super, super quick. Makes redesigns and removals so quick. I set out 45 minutes for a removal from start to finish when I'm doing it on a client, because obviously it's much quicker doing it on somebody else, because you can do both hands one after the other instead of doing one at a time. But yeah, I set out 45 minutes, then it's about 15 minutes to debulk like this, and then the rest of the time is just the last soak-in, which is 5 to 10 minutes max. And then you've got time to like do a bit of cuticle work, tidy them up, put a bit of oil on, that sort of thing. So that is how I time for a removal. But if I was to do it without the e-file, I definitely would need longer than that. Depending on how thick the nails are as well. If it's a really long nail that you're removing, then obviously they're going to be much thicker in this area. So you're going to have to set out more time for removal because of that as well. Mine are quite short, so they're not particularly thick, and I don't ever have one else that thick anyway. So I'm just going to remove the dust off me. Okay, then for removing nails that you're not going to use your e-file on, you want to use a hand file. I might actually only do one, I'm not sure yet, but you want to use a hand file. So this is only a 180 grit. You could do with something much more coarse, which would basically be like a 100 grit, 150 grit even, just anything stronger than a 180. But because I don't do removals with a hand file, I don't have any really low numbered grit, what they called, files. So I'm just going to be using this 180, but like, obviously if you had one that was much more course, and it'd be a much quicker process. So we basically want to do the exact same thing but with the hand file. So you want to remove as much bulk as you can with your hand file. Obviously I need to lift this up a little bit. Obviously that process will take longer than if you were to do it with an e-file, and also you need to be much more careful with a hand file if you're doing a lot of this forwards and backwards and while filing off motion, because you want to make sure that you don't create too much heat in one place. You want to do that with the e-file as well, of course. So once I'm doing it on this nail, as you can see, I'm moving around a lot and I'm never staying in the same place and constantly zigzagging like this in one area. You can zigzag and it works much quicker when you do, but you want to make sure that you're moving around all the time and you're not staying in one place for too long, because that's when the heat will happen, because it's obviously that's just how friction works. So once you've got it down nice and thin, this is already like getting there. Obviously you don't have to do this, like take off as much as you want. You can just soak for much longer, but like I said, filing, whether you do it hand file or e-file, is way quicker than soaking. So it is always best to get off as much as you have the patience for. But obviously if you're doing this motion with your hand on 10 nails on another person, it can really have a lot of strain on your wrist and also your arm. So just bear that in mind. Sometimes it is better to save yourself the hassle just leaving a thicker layer of acrylic on, because soaking itself will not put you out personally, like with your wrists and stuff. So I'm going to leave it at that. So as you can see, I didn't take the length down because I managed to totally forget while I was chatting about a load of crap. So I'm just going to take the length off, looking underneath again to make sure that it's not going to cause any damage to the finger. And if I'd have done that in the first place, I wouldn't have obviously had to file all this bit up here, if that makes sense. So just do that first next time, don't forget like I did. But yeah, so once we've got that down as thin as we want to, and as thin as we're possibly able to with like our hand file, this is what they look like. Obviously we've got more product on there than I would if I was going to e-file, but that's just because like I personally am not used to hand filing. I don't want to hand file, it takes a lot longer and I'm not keen, so that's why I use my e-file. So I'm just going to do this one with an e-file. It is a much quicker process. I do recommend it. I don't recommend it for home users that are not qualified in using an e-file, and I don't recommend it for nail techs that are not qualified in e-file either. I do get some questions every now and then when I ask everyone what videos they want to see, of like what RPMs to use bits on, what bits to use for different things, like all that sort of thing. And unfortunately I won't ever do videos on things like that, because one thing, like I do obviously believe in like doing nails as a course as well, but I did my nails and my friend's nails and my mum's nails and everything from the age of 10, so I can't really preach about like getting qualified to do that straight away and stuff like that, especially if you don't want to do it as a business, because it's a lot of money to fork out for courses and stuff. Although I do recommend it, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't do that, but with e-file, like I really do believe in like you must get qualified to use it, because it is something else entirely. It's very dangerous. So anyway, so that's where we're up to. So now I'm just going to go and get my removal items. Now you can use different things for removal depending on what you prefer, like what your preferences are and stuff. You can use these things here, which are fab. They come already made. You can also just cut up some cotton pads and put some tin foil around it, but I find these pre-made ones really easy, super quick. You don't have to mess about making them yourself. And they're really cheap as well off eBay and Amazon and places like that. And then you just soak this little pad here with acetone, pop it on the nail and then wrap it round. Or you can use something like this, which has a bowl for underneath it. So you'd put hot water in the bowl underneath, your acetone in this, pop that inside like that, clip it into place, and then you soak your hands in that, and that makes the process quicker because the acetone is warm. That is why we use tin foil, because it warms up the acetone, keeps the heat in. If you've got particularly cold hands as well, it's a good idea to warm them up somehow, like sit in a warm room while you do this. You can get wheat bags that you put on top that you've put in the microwave for a few minutes and stuff like that, or a hot water bottle, anything. Just warmth, basically, that's all you need. So I'm just going to get rid of this. Okay, so I've just popped some like napkin down just so I can scrape off my nails when they're ready onto this instead of my table. So I'm going to be using these because it's just easier for me to time like how long things take and stuff like that. So obviously I'm going to time how long it takes to soak these off because the ring finger is different. So I'm going to get my acetone. Now I'm just using 100% pure acetone. It can't get quicker than that. So definitely recommend that. And then I'm just using this little pump bottle here and just pumping a few onto this to make sure it's completely saturated. And then we're just going to place this on the nail. Make sure obviously it covers the entire nail. They are really fiddly to use on yourself, but obviously they're much easier to put on somebody else. So fold that over. You can fold it whichever way you want. As long as it's tight on the nail, it's all good. Now the difference with this method is you need to make sure that you don't leave these on too long, because if you do, obviously when your hands are sat in here soaking in acetone, it's not going to go anywhere, it's fine. But if you leave them soaking in these for too long, the acetone will just evaporate and then it'll just, your acrylic will solidify again and then you're just back to square one. So just make sure that you don't leave them on for a really long time, else it'll just be a complete waste of time. So I'm going to do 5 minutes at a time, just so then it's really easy for us to see how long it takes for different nails to soak off. Because if I do it 10 minutes at a time, some of them might have been done in 5 and we won't know. So I'm just going to sit them all on, time 5 minutes, take them all off, scrape off any excess that is ready, and then we'll do another 5 minutes and just so on until we're ready. And then we'll see how long it took for all of them to soak. Obviously bear in mind that if you don't take as much off with your hand file as I did, it will take longer than mine will. So this is the last one, and then I'm going to obviously go off camera for 5 minutes. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me for 5 minutes, but I'm going to go and set a timer now, come back in 5 minutes and we'll see where we're at with them all. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. I'm now just going to get a tool to scrape off the excess. She says, where is it? I'm just going to use this triangle tool that is for scraping off. So I started with the pinky, I think. Did I? I don't remember which one I started with. Oh, it's fine. Let's just get into it. So this is obviously one of the nails that I e-filed. There isn't a lot left on them, to be honest with you, but we're going to go with it. I'm not forcing any off. I'm literally just getting rid of what's already loose. I'm not trying to get any off that is not ready to come off, because that's when we'll end up causing damage. And my nails, as you all know, are already like ridiculously damaged. It's a common thing, like, well no, it's not a common thing, it's a known thing, like you don't need to point it out. I'm fully aware that I am too rough with my own nails and skin, and that is why they look the way they do and why they are so thin. But as you can see, there's a really tiny bit left on there. So I'm going to open this back up, which is even more fiddly than doing it in the first place, especially because I wrapped it up like an absolute weirdo, made it a bit difficult. But I'm just going to open this back up so we don't waste another one, pop that back in the acetone to make sure it's nice and fresh, and then we can close it again. Much more difficult to do when the rest of them are covered in foil as well. We're going on to the middle nail. Let's get some light. Again, not getting off any areas that are not ready, just taking off the ones that are. I will be doing another video after this of a set of full-on tips from Magpie. I haven't worn them for a while, and to be honest, I just can't be bothered with the whole tips and acrylic and everything, so I'm just going to be using those for this set because I'm not going to have them on very long because they're going to be quite long and I can't really get away with that normally when I'm working, so I'm only going to have them that long for a few days. So there's no point going overboard. Right, I'm going to open this up, put this back on. Next up, we're going to do the ring finger, which obviously this was the one that I hand filed, so there is more product on here to get off. There's quite a lot come off just for the first 5 minutes, so that's good. I hate white acrylic. I mention it every time I use it, but I really just don't like it. I don't even like removing it. Just going to get that off. Okay, so that's all the bits that are like really loose. I'm not scraping any off that's not ready, just getting off what's really, well, what's not attached basically. Okay, and then we're going to open it up, put this back on. And it's the pinky. You can see the redness on my natural nail of like where my really thin areas are. It's not good, so I'm just going to be a little bit more gentle with those areas. There's very, very little left on there. And then last but not least, we've got my thumb. I need to remember next time round to do my index finger first again so it's fair. Okay, so that's my thumb. Super, super thin layer left, which is perfect. And to be fair, if I was just leaving my natural nails like this, if I was just leaving my natural nails, I'd probably leave that little last bit on. Like if I was just going to put some gel polish on or something, I'd leave that tiny, tiny bit of acrylic there just as a bit of extra strength. But because I am going to be going in with a set on top, I am going to remove it completely. But it is nice to have that bit of extra strength just left. So we're going to give these another 5 minutes and then I'll be back again. Okay, we're back again. It's been another 5 minutes. So we're going to open them in the same order as I did last time. Right, this nail is now done. There's nothing left on that one. This is my middle finger, which is also done. Then onto the ring finger. Let me just get rid of all the excess off that. So much we can get off this time. Still a good amount coming off, but not quite enough. So we'll pop this one back on, put it in for another 5 minutes, and then we'll see where we're at. I'll put it back on in a second. I've got rid of all this. That one's done as well. Sometimes my thumb needs a little bit longer, so that might need a little bit extra time, but we'll see. Oh, there's a really little amount on here actually. Okay. So I'm just going to put my ring finger back on again. That's definitely not the ring finger one. I think that was my pinky finger. Not that it really matters because they're all the exact same, but there you go. So I'm just popping this one back in here. Put a bit more acetone on that. And we're going to do it for another 5 minutes, and then we'll come back after that 5 minutes and see where we're at then. Okay, we're back again. It's been another 5 minutes. Just zoom in a bit. Let's have a look. That's a good amount coming off. Okay, that's been the third 5 minutes. So that's 15 minutes now. The rest came off after 10. This one has been 15. There is still some on there. So we're going to pop my finger back in. And I think this will be the last 5 minutes. So I'm going to do that. And then again, we'll come back in 5 minutes. And then hopefully we'll be done. I just need to prep ready for the new set. Okay, it's been another 5 minutes, so I'm hoping that is going to be the final. Yeah, there we go. All done. Perfect. So that is everything soaked off. I'm not going to prep them in this video because that will come in the video that I do next, which is me actually doing my nails, and obviously I need to remove these as well. But yeah, I hope this video was somehow useful. If you're thinking about getting e-file trained, if you're a nail tech, then I definitely recommend it. It makes removals and acrylic redesign so much quicker, as you can see. It literally took 10 minutes. For the soaking part, obviously the filing part, you need to just figure out that yourself because that's personal to everybody. But the soaking part itself on these 4 took 10 minutes, and then this one took 20, so that's already double. And then the filing part itself, even if the filing was the quickest, which it isn't, obviously, you don't get as much off with a hand file unless you want to take ages, but you still get a strain in your wrist and all that sort of thing, so it's definitely worth it. But like I said, not worth it if you're not qualified. Please get training in it. Don't use an e-file if you're not trained. So yeah, I hope this video was informative of some sort. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon with the next one of me doing my New Year's Eve nails.